This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and histories of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we're talking with Mayor Jordan Marlowe. Welcome, Professor, teacher, educator Jordan Marlowe.
Well, thank you
to the show
for having me. Anytime I get the opportunity to come and talk with Queen Lizzie, the honor and pleasure is mine.
Well, it's my honor and pleasure also.
This is fantastic. I love the setup. I love the podcast. I love the stories and the conversations you have. And I'm pleased to be included.
Well, thank you very, very, very much. And I'm pleased to have you as my board chair, the Rosewood board chair.
Absolutely.
That's an honor.
We're going to do some great things together.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you have the energy. And I have the knowledge.
And you got the knowledge and the history.
Okay.
You got the gravitas. We all follow Queen Lizzie.
Okay. But I am really, really honored to have you, from Newberry. I love Newberry. If I didn't live in Archer, my second place to live would be Newberry.
We're going to get you over to Newberry.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know that the folks watching at home know how we met, but it was when Newberry got engaged in Truth and Reconciliation and started confronting our own history.
Yes.
And you came over and helped us work through that process, helped us guide that process.
Yes.
So Newberry is always going to be indebted to you and the Rosewood Foundation for helping mentor us and guide us. These are hard conversations. This is hard history.
It's hard.
And we need folks who have been dedicated to civil rights activism for their entire life to help us work through those conversations.
Exactly. And my entire life, yes. And I remember 1960 at Florida Memorial College, my first sit-in, lunch counter sit-in to desegregate the lunch counter in that F.W. Woolworth. My worst experience in my life ever. But like you say, I have been involved forever in trying to make a difference and working for the civil rights movement with and for. It wasn't easy. I didn't want to. My mother said, you better not go there and you better not sit at that lunch counter. And I'm in the background on the telephone at my college saying, yes, ma'am. And my peers were saying, Robinson, you will go tomorrow. I didn't have a choice. It was a team thing, and we did it. It wasn't easy, but we did it. And
Well, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
But looking back,
yes.
I'm proud of you for doing it.
Yes.
And I bet your mother's proud of you for doing it, because there comes a time when you just have to take a stand.
You have to take a stand, and we stood in solidarity. We had to take a stand, and I didn't tell her for a few years after what had happened. But the one thing I'm sad about, not sad, I wish they had put me in jail. Had they jailed me, I would have had it in writing, records,
Right.
I could plaster on the wall and say, this is what I did for the civil rights movement. I don't know how I got into that, but anyway, it's about doing what is right, making a difference, leaving a legacy.
I think you've got plenty of things in writing, Miss Lizzie. You've got a book.
Yes.
We're out there campaigning for.
Yes.
And I don't know if anybody has more articles written about them than you, and who's giving more lectures and speeches and talks. So I think you have a life that's already written down.
Okay, and that's what I'm going to leave here for you all to take to the next level, okay?
Next generation has to carry it on, right?
Exactly. And as we say, it's not easy. but we can't erase it.
We can, and that's really what the Real Rosewood Foundation is working on. You know,
Yes.
we are going to recreate the city of Rosewood in Archer. And for folks that don't really understand the history, the survivors who made it out of Rosewood, who were able to get on that train and escape, a lot of them put down their roots in Archer. So
Yes.
they made it across the county line. They put down their roots in Archer. So there's a lot of folks in Archer that can trace their ancestry back.
Yes.
And we need to recreate this city. We need to be able to tell a story.
Right.
We need to have a museum that we can put all the artifacts that you've spent your life collecting so that people can come and they can learn the real history. A lot of folks have seen the movie,
Yes.
but we need them to understand the difference between fact and fiction. We want them to come and tell the story. And as a teacher, I want a place that's right down the road. I can take my students on field trips
Right.
and show them all of those kinds of stories and histories that we need to understand in order to understand where we are today.
Exactly, and I'm proud that you are a teacher in Newberry, and you teach African American history.
I do. I teach about Rosewood. I teach about Miss Lizzie Jenkins. Yeah, we have a whole Miss Lizzie Day, you know.
Yes.
And we talk about, you know, because history is important, but history is important for what we learn from it to take to today. So if we can't
Right.
take it into today, if we can't link it to today, and I think that as a teacher of African American history, we do a disservice to the whole movement when we reduce it to Martin Luther King,
Yes.
Rosa Parks,
Yes. Yes.
Frederick Douglass. Not
Yes.
those people aren't important.
Yes.
They're clearly important. I'm not taking anything away from them.
Exactly.
But they had armies of
Yes.
people in neighborhoods doing the boots on the ground work. People like you, people like your mother. Without you, they wouldn't have been able to do what they did. So
Exactly.
we've got to tell all of those stories.
All of those stories, we must tell them. And I appreciate people like you to help us tell these stories, because it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about history, America's history.
And who would have thought that we'd be sitting in 2023 in a podcast
I
talking
know.
about history that some people don't want in textbooks, some people don't want
Exactly.
taught in class.
Yes.
Some people would probably been real happy if this had been forgotten history,
Exactly.
discarded history, and here we are on a podcast that's going to live forever. And
Exactly.
this history is going to be here 100 years from now, 200 years from now. Someone's going to still sit and watch Miss Queen Lizzie tell the story of Rosewood and that history.
That is true. That is true. For years to come, we will be telling this history. And Freddie Weeby made sure he named this podcast. So I don't want people to think, oh, who does she think she's a queen? He said, Queen.
We
Lizzie.
all think you're queen. Freddie's not alone in that.
Okay.
And you know, we've been working, we partnered with the University of Florida to
Yes.
create a curriculum about Rosewood.
Exactly.
And so the professors there, they understand your role in keeping this history alive. They were very honored to come and work with you and interview you
Yes.
and tap into the history that you've collected.
Yes.
And isn't it amazing now that we will have a curriculum that is in every single high school in Alachua County,
Yes.
and that we can now take to the State Department of Education
Exactly.
and say, here it is. You
Exactly.
want this history taught according to a law in the 90s.
Exactly.
And here's the curriculum. Here's
Exactly.
the curriculum to teach it. So follow the law and let's teach it.
Let's teach it, because in the 90s, in fact 94, when they passed this bill, I don't remember, but they did wanted Black history taught. I went to Palm Beach because I'm thinking Palm Beach was the first county to approve it. They invited me to speak on Rosewood 1994. I have the copies of the program and everything, and we talked about Black history for a week. It was a week-long conference. And yes, they wanted it taught then. Now, you can't renege on us.
That's right. Once you pass the law, it's there.
It is there.
But as a teacher, I know that you can tell teachers that they got to teach something, but if you don't help them teach it, if you don't give them the curriculum,
Yes.
it's an unfair rule to pass. And so it may have taken 25 years to get there, but now we will be able to give teachers a curriculum that they can follow, that has been piloted, that has been vetted, so that we know that the real history is being taught to the next generation. And you know, once kids know something, they can't unknow it.
They can't unknow it.
Right.
And the professor at the University of Florida, would you like to call? It's okay to say her name.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Elizabeth Washington, she's been fantastic.
Yes, she has.
She's worked with us on a Dewberry lynchings curriculum.
Yes.
She's now working with the Rosewood Board on the Rosewood curriculum.
Yes,
she's been fantastic.
Yes.
And you went up to Philadelphia, right? It was
Yes,
Philadelphia
I did.
to the National Social Studies Conference, and we
Yes.
presented that curriculum.
Yes.
Very well received.
Yes.
So it's not just going to be in Alachua County Public Schools.
Exactly.
We're going to look for this to be across the country.
Across the country, and in September I will be in Jacksonville presenting at the ASAWA conference. Okay, and I'm taking Rosewood information with me, and I did speak with Dr. Elizabeth Washington last week, and she's going to give me some pointers on what to talk about and how to present it there.
Perfect.
So we're
Perfect.
moving forward.
Well, I'll tell you, you're just wearing yourself out, going all over the state, all over the country, telling this story, telling this history. Every
Yes.
time I talk to you,
Yes.
you're somewhere else. Miami, Atlanta, Jacksonville.
Yes, it has to be told. Okay, I'm getting younger, and I
There you
want
go.
to leave a legacy for the next generation, for you all, the board, to move forward. And we tell it positively. We don't attack people. And that's what history is all about.
And I think that's the part that we need to communicate to folks, because I think folks that are concerned about this history, folks that are worried about this history, they believe that it's going to be negative. They believe it's going to be angry, and they believe that it's going to open up old wounds. And that's not been my experience working with you. It's not been my experience working in Dewberry. My experience has been this is a unifying, healing process. Not that emotions can't flare. It is hard history. These are hard conversations to have. And anger is okay. It's not a bad thing to be angry. Some of these things you should get angry about. Right?
I was angry when my mom gave the assignment to me. I don't want to do that, Mom. It's too much. It's painful. I don't want to. She said, well, if Mama was younger, Mama would do it. And I wanted to say to Mama, do it, darling. I don't want to. But you don't say that to elders. And she was so concerned because her sister was mistreated. And she wanted that history to resonate, stay alive, tell her sister's story. So
well, even Jesus said, take this cross from me, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
We sometimes a path is laid in front of you, and we need you to take up and do that work. So you've made the board proud. Every member of the board is just as honored as they could be to be a part of this process, a part of this work, and we can't wait to see that museum come to fruition. We can't wait to turn Archer into the Truth and Reconciliation capital of Alachua County, capital of North Florida. And we're going to get people coming from all around to learn about history, to learn about America's history, Rosewood history, our history.
Exactly, and like you say, it's negative, but my quote for being negative or presenting negative information, I say we are taking a negative effect, making a positive effect.
Absolutely.
That's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
All the way.
I always I start in my African American history class by giving the kids a metaphor, analogy, and I ask them to think about a married couple, and somebody in the marriage steps outside the marriage, and then comes to their spouse and says, "Yeah, I made a mistake. I'm really sorry. Can we get counseling? Can we work on it? Do you think that the marriage can survive?" And the kids say, "Well, maybe not, but there's a chance." And I say, "Okay, well, think about somebody steps outside the marriage, but then they don't admit to it. They don't apologize. They don't want to talk about it. They won't engage with you. Do you think the marriage has a chance there?" I say, "Oh no," and everybody agrees. Nobody doesn't have a chance. And I think it's a pretty good comparison for America. If we are going to continue to deny this history, if we're going to continue to say it didn't happen, we're going to continue to say things like, well, enslaved people had benefits and those kinds of things, then we're never going to get We're never going to get past it. We've got to confront it first. That's the only way. We got to go through it to get past it. And that's what we're working. That's right.
Working. And we're doing, I think, an excellent job of working through it as a team. It has been my pleasure working with you all. Painful, but we're getting there.
We are.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay, that's about time for the first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
I love these sponsors.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History.
I am Florida and America's Black History,
and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, recorded right here at Steve's Gridiron Grill in Coach Sperry's own podcast room. We are here with Mayor Jordan Marlowe. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus Credit Union USA from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, and special thanks to Greg Bradley, Allstate Insurance.
You know, can I just say that Campus USA Credit Union, they have been fantastic with this work. I mean, every time that we have engaged, they've been willing to help out. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they're helping with this podcast, because they have just been a fantastic friend to Rosewood. And you can't say enough about Meldon Law. I mean, Meldon Law is such a great community sponsor. We couldn't do so much in Alachua County without their support, and Rosewood really depends on them as well. So all of our sponsors, just let me say thank you. This work is personal to Miss Lizzie, it's personal to me, it's personal to so many folks here in this community, and we need folks like that can step in and help get this history out. Exactly.
Thank you very much. I see through the same lens they have in there for us. And Greg Bradley is my classmate's son, and they have been extremely supportive also.
I can't wait to meet him.
Yes,
yeah.
He's awesome. Yes,
Wonderful.
He is. Yes, they are in Ghana as we speak today. They took a group of, I'm thinking, 15, 18 young men there for 5 days. Okay. Are they there now?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes. And they have been in here, and
Yeah.
I interviewed them, and Meldon Law interviewed them. Plus, he's supporting them on their trip to Ghana.
That's fantastic.
Yes,
That's
it is.
fantastic.
So we have great supporters out there.
Well, can we talk about our project in Archer?
Yes.
I know we mentioned it in the first
Yes,
segment,
yes,
but
yes.
I want to tell the folks what's happening, because this is really exciting.
Okay, you talk.
You know,
Yes.
we said we're going to rebuild Rosewood, and that's awesome. And I think that's going to be great. Living history. We talked about the museum. I think that's fantastic. Having a place to go to tell the story, having a place that we can bring people. But I think the most exciting thing for me is the fact that the railroad runs right by our property.
Yes.
Right by the Rosewood Foundation's property. And the opportunity to work with the railroad to create a depot, to recreate the Rosewood Depot, to have stops right there, so that you can, and folks watching at home, you'll see it one day. But when you are at that railroad, you come back into 1900 Florida. You can't hear a car, you can't see any buildings, you can't see any houses. If we can work with the railroad to create a stop, people can get on the train, they can come to Rosewood, and they can literally step off back into time. And they can walk into a living history exhibit of what this town would have been, the vibrancy of this community, and then they can make their way to the museum after they have that first initial impression of stepping back into time. And I just think this is going to be an amazing opportunity for the railroad. I think it's an amazing opportunity for racial history tourism, and I can't wait to see it come to life.
I can't wait to see it come to life. I can't. When you told me about it the first time, I was just so overwhelmed, so involved. Glad it's your idea. Glad to hear.
That's not true.
And
Queen
your
Lizzie always gives
interpretation.
everybody else credit.
And the tree line, tell them about the trees that are there. It's so quiet and peaceful
It
there.
is.
The
It
scenery
is.
is almost the same as the scenery in Rosewood.
It is. And that's what's going to be so powerful, is that you will be able to step back into time, into a reflective
Yes.
environment that is quiet, that is peaceful. And that's really what you need, because Rosewood stirs some feelings. When
Yes.
you learn this history, you get emotional. When you learn this history, you learn the tragedy. You need that quiet. You need that
Yes.
quiet to let it sink in, and that's what we're going to be able to provide to folks that come here. We're going to be able to give them that experience where they can reflect,
Yes.
where they can find some peace, some solace, where they can ask questions, where they can learn without the sounds of the 21st century anywhere to be found.
Exactly. Absolutely. And we plan to rebuild houses. Okay. Maybe a church.
Anybody's listening out there that is a contractor, a builder, this would be a great opportunity. I think these
Yes.
are shotgun houses is the
Yes.
architectural term that would be appropriate for the time. We would love to build 6 to 8 of them to recreate the street.
Yes.
We'd love to, once we get the right house there, we'll refurbish it. We'll have the general store, the right house. I think a church would be a fantastic idea.
Yes.
Imagine having church service in a newly recreated Rosewood where we
Yes.
can preach and teach all at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We are excited.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Yeah.
Yes, we're excited. And I talked to Kate Brown today, and Kate Brown is coming.
Wonderful
West.
partner with the
Yes.
Land Trust.
Yes.
Gotten us a substantial grant. And that's going to allow the foundation to do all of the site work to understand exactly where each building needs to be and how it needs to be constructed. So when we're done with Kate Brown and her assistance from the Land Trust, we're going to be able to turn straight to a builder and say, here's what we're working on. Let's go build it.
Exactly. And that kicks off Wednesday of next week when she is coming to
Very excited.
Gainesville.
Very excited.
To the property to meet with us. It's very, very exciting. It really is. And we're excited. We're looking forward to making Archer, as you said, the capital of.
Truth and Reconciliation
All right.
in Alachua County.
Okay.
Alachua County is doing a lot of this work. And I think it's important for folks in Alachua County who are telling Alachua County stories to start bringing Rosewood home to Alachua County.
Exactly.
Alachua County and Levy County, they were both involved in this. Right?
Exactly.
The KKK was in Gainesville.
Exactly.
They left Gainesville, came
Went
to
to
Rosewood,
Rosewood.
raised the town for 3 days, and then
Yes.
came back to Gainesville.
Exactly.
The people who escaped made it across the county line.
Exactly.
So our stories here are one and the same. And, whether we're talking about the Newberry lynchings or the things that went on in Hawthorne, the things that went on in Gainesville, Rosewood is also part of that history that Alachua County needs to take the lead in telling, because if we don't do it, who's going to?
Exactly. And if Miami can reach from Miami, okay, and come to Rosewood, come to Archer, say, hey, look, do you have artifacts? Okay, can we digitize them? Can we do an exhibit? And of course, they were allowed to do this. And that exhibit has gone international, y'all. And the name of it is An Elegy to Rosewood, which is a composition of the research that we have done. FIU, Miami, 5 hours away. They have done this. University of Florida, we need you all to join with them.
Join hands.
Join hands, because I have spoken at the University of Florida between 1994 and 2020, 29 times. No
29
charge.
times.
29 times. I have it documented on my Rosewood timeline. And it's time for you all to re-up, repay, reimburse. In other words, just help us.
Pay it forward.
Pay for
Pay it
it.
forward.
Pay for
Yeah.
it. Because we have contributed.
You know, I sit on the Florida Humanities Board, and we had a board meeting last week in St. Petersburg, and I was sitting there talking about the ways that the Florida Humanities could be a little more vibrant, help to tell these kinds of stories. And one of the other board members, I had just met him that day, he turned to me and he said, "You're on the Rosewood Foundation board?" He says, "I just saw the most amazing presentation down at FYU."
Oh, really?
He says it was incredible. He says, and the woman name, what was her name? I said it was Miss Lizzie. He says, Miss Lizzie Jenkins. He said she started singing and the whole room started crying. He says it's just fantastic. He said what a story, what history.
Yes.
And it was, so the message is far and wide.
It is.
And it's across the state of Florida. I know you've gone up to Atlanta and you've
Yes.
talked in Atlanta multiple times.
Yes.
You know, we've had folks out in California reach out to us and talk to us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the 100-year anniversary of the massacre.
Mm-hmm.
It is time for us as a state. It's time for us as a country. 100 years has gone by. Let's finally do what we should have done a long time ago. Let's memorialize this. Let's teach this. Let's help create this museum so
Yes.
that these types of histories can go into the historical record and we don't have to
Yes.
worry about them repeating themselves.
Exactly. And I have a friend I met at FIU who is a retired law and order professor. He teaches theater in Miami at FIU. He has done a Rosewood play.
I can't wait to watch it.
I know, and he called me the other day. We were talking about opening there in FIU. He said, you know what would be awesome if we can bring it to Gainesville. In fact, he's a graduate of Gainesville, of UF. And he remembered what's that building?
Center for Performing Arts or the Hippodrome.
No, Center for Performing Arts. He
Yeah.
remembers that. He said, if we can get that stage and get some sponsors to bring us there, that's where we need to open.
I agree. Well, let's talk to President Sass
Okay.
and let's say that that's what we need.
I
We
will
need
make-
from UF. We
okay.
want UF to help bring a Rosewood play to town, bring it back home.
Exactly. I will make an appointment and I will include you.
All right.
And we'll go in and we'll talk to him and he can't say no. He
No.
just cannot say no.
No one says no to Queen Lizzie. But, you know, that's why we had the Centennial Kickoff
Yes.
event in downtown Gainesville.
Exactly.
In recognition of the fact that 100 years ago, the KKK gathered in hate and anger.
Exactly.
And 100 years later, we gathered in the same spot.
The same spot where the bloodshed is today.
We brought it back to where it started.
Exactly. People don't know this when we were there. Hey, I know. This is where y'all did the lynching when it said downtown Gainesville Square. That is the square, Bo Diddley
Right.
Plaza. Yes. And we need to.
But I have found that people are generally much more comfortable thinking about this history as history that happened someplace else.
No.
I remember that when we first started talking about racial history in Newberry, every reporter said, well, what's going on in Newberry? You know, well, why would all this happen in Newberry? And I kept thinking, you know, it happened all over the place. Newberry's just willing to talk about it.
Yes.
That's the only difference. It happened in Hawthorne, it happened in High Springs, it happened in Alachua, it happened in Micanopy, it happened in Gainesville, it happened in Alachua County, Marion County, Levy County, it happened everywhere. But there are some people that are willing to acknowledge that and confront it and talk about it, and some people that aren't.
Right.
But just because people aren't willing to talk about it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Exactly. Exactly. They're embarrassed.
Right.
But we know it happened. My mom would tell me, oh, there are many Rosewoods. Each has a different name. She said, but it happened. She lived it. Oh my God. She lived it. And I know she's smiling. Yes, she is. And because it was her ultimate goal to make sure this history is preserved. She saved everything. So many documents that I still have.
So that's why we need that museum.
Exactly.
Leslie, have you told the people about your book?
No, I have
You've
not.
got to tell folks about the book. Before we go today, I want them to hear about this book. I want them to know where they can get one.
Okay, this book is called Lizzie's Rosewood Race, and it's really about my childhood. And what makes it important to me, I grew up poor, and it opens with me going to school in first grade, no shoes. Could not afford shoes. However, the second year, we got a little richer. I guess my dad made more from the farm and were able to get shoes, but they were never new. But that's okay, they were shoes. And the book talks about that, and it talks about my experience as a black child. We have the book, Black Pictures. I get excited. The first time in my life, I was able to read a book that has black pictures. Not the first time, but when I was going to school, there were no black pictures in my book.
And how powerful is that going to be for
that
other
is so powerful.
young ladies?
Exactly. And every adult, black or white, every adult that purchased a book from me, the first thing out of their mouth, I'm going to give this to my child or to my grandchild. And I autographed that book in that child's name.
Yeah.
Parents are going to read it, but they want their kids to see it. And I remember.
Now don't tell the whole story. Now we want people to buy the book. They got to buy it. Now.
Okay. So I will not tell the whole story. But anyway, you can go to my website, www.rosewoodflorida.com, and purchase the book from Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I know it's at those two what are they called? Publishing companies. But anyway, you can purchase them from there.
Or you can wait for the next book signing event, because we have those periodically, as long as we don't wear them out, as long as we don't wear you out.
Perfect. Thanks for the help, because I get, But that's all you need to know about the book. Please purchase the book for your child, if not for you. Okay? And I know you will enjoy reading it.
Well, Queen Lizzie, thanks for having me on today.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you for our sponsors. We appreciate you on behalf of the board.
Yes. You are welcome. And thank you for helping me tell this story so eloquently. Appreciate it very much.
Every day.
Okay. I am continuously humble, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time. Goodbye. Thank you, Jordan.
Bye-bye.